Using search functions can save you a lot of time, especially when you're going through giant data sets to match values. It will prevent you or your users from having to do Control F and searching through different things. Best of all, it's super easy to set up. So the first thing I'll do is show you how to set up a search value, and then I'll show you how to create multiple search criteria for the same value, so that way you can mix and match. And then I'm going to show you a hack on how to use a checkbox to be able to search the values a lot more quickly. So the first thing you'll need is a data set. If you have it in table form, that will help simplify some of the formula building. If you don't have it in table form, all you need to do is select the range instead of typing in the name. And I'll show you how that works in a second. So let's say we want to search the company name. In cell G1, I'll type company. And then in H1, that's where our search value is going to be. So I'm going to go ahead and just select both of those cells. And I'll put borders around it just to highlight that it's something that matters. Now I'm going to put equals filter, open parentheses, select everything that we want to return. In this case, I want it to be A2 all the way through E. And I want it to go through E, that way it goes all the way through the end of the column. That's best practice in my opinion. That way, if any data gets added later on, it will still be included in the search value. And then for the first condition, we're going to put search, open parentheses, select the cell H1, because that's the value we want to search. And then we're going to put the text to search, which is the column that we want to search for that value. That will be A2 through the end of column A. And the biggest thing with this is make sure that the ranges match. So for example, we have A2, that starts with row 2. We have A2 here, that starts with row 2. This is to the end of column E, that's to the end of column A. It doesn't matter if the columns don't match exactly, as long as the rows in the columns match. So since we're going through the end of the column for each of these, it'll work. So I'm going to go ahead and press enter, and now you'll see all the different options. If I were to type something into H1, it will only show me results that have INN anywhere in the name. It doesn't have to start with INN. As long as INN is anywhere in the name, it will show up. So it's really as simple as that. Now, if you don't want to have the giant list show up, you only want to have it blank unless there's a search value. Before filter, you can type if, open parentheses, is blank, open parentheses, H1, and we're using H1 because that's where the search function is going to be, close parentheses, comma, comma. And now it'll be blank unless you have a search value. So if I type in INN, it will still work, but if it's not there, it'll be blank. Now, if you don't want this blank and instead you want to have some sort of text appear here showing that there's a formula, but it's not working because there's nothing there, instead of having a blank after is blank, we're going to put no search value. Put that inside quotes, and now it will show no search value if it's blank. And if it's not blank, it will show the company values that are returned. Now, if you want to have multiple values, so for example, let's say you want to have country, you can put country, and then you can have J1 be where the search value will be. Let's go ahead and add borders here as well. Right after the search formula, we'll put plus search, open parentheses, select cell J1, put a comma, and now we want to select everything where the country is. So we'll put C2 all the way through the end of C and press enter. So now if I were to say US, for example, it will show me only companies that have INN in the name and where the country contains US. Now this works the exact same way. So US is the only thing that populates US, but if I were to put U, for example, it will show UK and US because they both have U in the name. So they both work the same exact way. Now, if I were to delete company, it will show no search value, even though there is something in the search value for country. The reason why that's the case is because I have is blank, and that's based off of H1. H1 here is blank. So whenever if formula hits a value that's true, it will return that value and not proceed with the rest of them. So if you want to make it where if it's blank in H1 and J1, then it will be blank. Otherwise, it will search the value in whichever one is filled out. All you have to do is before is blank, put and, open parentheses. After is blank, we'll put a comma, and then put is blank, open parentheses, J1, close parentheses, and then we'll close out the parentheses again to close out the and formula, and press enter. So now, if both of these are blank, it'll be blank. If one of these is not blank, so if I have an F here, or if I have a U here, for example, it doesn't matter. As long as one of them is filled out, then it will continue with that formula. All right, so that's how to create a search function with multiple different conditions. But especially if you have giant lists, this can take a lot of time trying to vet and match things up. So let me show you a shortcut that I use using a checkbox to be able to speed up this process a lot faster. And this comes in handy for me specifically if I'm looking at an event list of companies and I'm trying to compare them to all the accounts in my database. Sometimes they'll match up with just an XLOOKUP or something like that, but a lot of times it's a fuzzy match. So for example, if something has an LLC at the end or a the at the beginning on one list and not on the other list, it won't match up. So this helps me go through a giant list, but it will save me a bunch of time having to type things in manually. So in our data set, we're going to add 2 columns. In column F, we're going to add short, and then in column G, we're going to change this to a checkbox. So I'm going to go to the little caret, go to edit column type, and click checkbox. If you don't have any table form, not a big deal. All you need to do is select the range, then go to insert checkbox. Now, if you don't know anything about checkboxes, it's really just a visualization of true and false. So for example, if I click on one of the cells, up here in the formula bar, you can see that it actually says false. If I were to check it, then it's going to change that value to true instead. So since this is true or false, we can build a formula based off of those values. So before we do that, we want to extract a few characters of the company name to be able to search. So I'm going to type equals, left, open parentheses, select the cell that we want to search. Let's say we want to search the first 3 characters. You can see right here, it automatically shows you a summary of what will be extracted. So for example, AET is the first 3 characters to the left, AET. That's what I want in this situation. So I'm going to go ahead and press enter and then apply that to the rest of the range. Now I'm going to rename column 7 as checkboxes. And now we can build the formula. So we're going to do an XLOOKUP formula. We'll type equals XLOOKUP. And then we're going to search the word true. And remember, true will work because whenever a checkbox is checked, it's equal to true. We want that to search in the checkboxes column. And as I mentioned, if you have tables set up, you can simply search the name of the column within that table. So you can see right here, it says search checkboxes. Search is the name of my table. And this is beneficial because if you have multiple tables, you make sure that you're looking at the right cell. So search, and then we have checkboxes as the column. So search is the table name, checkboxes is the column name. So I'm going to search the checkboxes column, and then I want to return short, so the value that's in the short column. I'll put it blank, that way it's blank if it's missing, and press enter. So you can see right here, it automatically extracts AET, and that's because this box is checked. If I uncheck it, there's nothing marked as true, so that's why nothing is appearing. Now I can use the space bar to check or uncheck, so that way it saves time having to manually click on it. And from there, you can just use the space bar to look at things super quickly to see if there's multiple results and look for the data that you're interested in. Now, one thing to note is that if you have multiple cells that are marked as true, it's only going to return the value the first time that it's marked as true. So you'll need to check and uncheck using that space bar to be able to toggle through things pretty quickly. Now, you don't need to necessarily see this short one, so you can right click on it, go to view more column actions, group column, and now it's not even there, but it will still work. So right here we have 3 things marked as checked. If I uncheck each one, it will filter down through the next one. That's really it. So now you have a checkbox to be able to do whatever you want with. If you want to create another one for the country, you can do the same exact thing, just for the country. So that's how to create a search function with a few tricks. If you don't already subscribe, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Let me know if you have any questions and like and comment for more.